welcome back to the next episode of the Sensible Mama podcast. I am Paulina Westcott, your host, and with me today is Ch-a Mosley, who has an incredible story. She became pregnant. She had her baby when she was 47 years old, which has brought all sorts of reactions, positive and negative, on the internet. But I'm really excited to have you share your story. I've been following you for quite some time, and I love what you're doing. So yeah, let's talk about it. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me here. I love what you're doing as well because these are the platforms that we need for women to get the truth about getting pregnant, childbirth, and all the things. So thank you for having me here. Yeah, as you mentioned, I had my first baby at the age of 47. I conceived her naturally at 46. A lot of times women want to know, well, what did you do? What supplements? Did you take IVF? Like whatever. And the beautiful thing about my story, and I think why it's gotten so much attention, is the fact that it was a completely natural and surprise conception, which goes against what we are being told by Dr. Google and actual doctors in person. I've learned from many followers that they are kind of being laughed out of the doctor's office with their fertility goals, when they want to have a baby after 40. Yet here I am, natural conception, wasn't even trying, wasn't even thinking about it. Like, and whoops, 46, surprise conception, and then carried my baby to term and delivered her at 47, a completely healthy pregnancy as well. Like I beat all the stereotypes, and I don't say that for being boastful. I'm saying it for giving women hope that you can have a natural pregnancy or a healthy. I mean, if you go IVF, that's good. That's fine. We have the means. But you can have a baby. You can have a healthy pregnancy that carries to term even after 40, and even in my case, after 45.
That's incredible. What was it like for you when you found out? Like when you took a pregnancy test and it showed, two lines or the plus sign or whatever. What went through your head?
It was the two lines, and I'm so mad that I seem to have the photo of it because I certainly took one. Maybe it's something I got to go digging for it. But anyway, my first reaction was a little bit shock. My fiance knew I was pregnant. He knew. Yeah. There were some symptoms that popped up pretty immediately. Um, One was I suddenly became very tired. I became very tired. And then two, I was eating a lot of sauerkraut. Like just couldn't. He's European, right? He's from Transylvania, which is a real country. It's a real place in the middle of Romania. And so he's a sauerkraut eater, and he's brought it into the house. And I like sauerkraut, but man, like I was like going for the sauerkraut. He was like, I think you're pregnant. And I was like, no,
It's
I'm not.
really funny.
Yeah.
It's amazing, we were talking before we hit record about how different pregnancies are. Everybody's got a different thing. For me, my first suspicion of my pregnancy was my nose got runny. Like it was like this weird congestion that felt unusual, and I'm like, I wonder if I'm pregnant.
Is that
Like
a pregnancy
that's not a
symptom?
normal. No, no, but like you know your body better than anybody else. You know what's normal for you and what isn't, and that was for me. I was like, I better go take a test because my nose is congested. I was okay. I don't know what that's all about.
Were you late? Like, did you have a congested nose plus a missed period?
I think I was no, no. It just felt different than usual. Like my face felt different than usual.
And you were like, I think I'm pregnant.
Well, I knew, of course, given my activities in recent weeks, I knew there was the possibility. I
Right.
was like, we were sort of trying, so I knew like my radar was already like up and tuned to that. So
We were looking for any and every change possible.
pretty
Who
much,
knows?
yep,
We're going for it.
yeah.
That's funny.
Oh man.
Oh, the other thing too that I will share is that I did conceive at the age of 45. I had a natural conception then. At that time, I was going pretty hardcore on the sauerkraut then too. But that pregnancy wind up being what's called a blighted ovum, blunted ovum. I forget the term.
Mhm.
Anyway, it was non-viable, was not going to fully form. And so I miscarried. I lost that baby. And so 10 months later, I conceive again naturally. So that's also the double beauty of my story, that I had two natural conceptions after the age of 45. And word to practitioners and even women like you, which I'm sure you don't need a message like this, but I'll share it. Um, at the time of that miscarriage at 45, I had an older OBGYN, and she was so cool. She never made my miscarriage about my age. She never was like, well, you're older. Mm-mm. She was like, listen, sorry, that's my ice maker if you heard it. She's
Okay.
like, okay. She said, listen, women have miscarriages of all ages. And she gave me at the time the percentage of all pregnancies that end in miscarriage. I think it was like 20%, or I can't remember the number, but something like that. And she was like, the fact that you can get pregnant in the first place means that you can get pregnant again. And she was like, that's what matters. You're able to get pregnant. And that was it. That was it. And mind you, I was at a phase in life where it wasn't like I was hoping for a baby. Our thoughts about having a baby were, if it happens, it happens, because I still had a regular period. I honestly thought that my time for having a baby had passed. But in my new relationship, I was like, well, wait a minute, we're having unprotected sex. We need to talk about this because I'm still having a regular period. So it could happen. And so we talked about it, and we said, okay, well, if it happens, it happens. I didn't want to do IVF. I didn't want to change our very happy life into making a baby. It just was like, we'll just see and we'll let it happen and we'll be joyful if it does. And it did.
That's incredible. Man, that's so incredible. And you know, you were talking about an OB who doesn't make it about your age. And I talk about this with a lot of things because, you know, age is, I do want to talk about the term geriatric pregnancy and how demeaning and like, can we call it like advanced pregnancy? Because I feel like that just sounds cooler. I
Yeah, like it can have a name, right? So people can identify it, but geriatric, like
feel like it's a bit aggressive.
I just always say that's not what he said when we made
Nah.
that baby. Nothing geriatric about how that baby got here, so can we stop it?
Oh man. But like, you know, your OB not making it about your age. I feel like so much in the medical profession relies on the individual that you have, right? Like the individual practitioner, be it a chiropractor, a doctor, you know, if you're doing IVF, your IVF specialist, like whatever people you're dealing with, you got to find the people that jive with you and your beliefs because, you know, it matters. It makes a difference. Like for you, I'm sure that that had a great impact. Her saying, "Okay, it's you know, it's not about your age. It's actually a good sign. This is actually a hopeful thing. You know,
Yeah.
which is an incredible angle to look. You know, miscarriage is a rough thing to go through. I've had one myself, and it's not. It can be a challenge, you know, emotionally and physically, and it's a whole thing. But to have that be the outcome, you know, like, hey, this is actually hopeful. This sucks and this is not fun to go through, but like, let's look at the fact that this could mean good things for you, right?
Yeah, it was very optimistic because while I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't trying for a baby and it wasn't like on my game plan. Once I got pregnant, well, of course you start like, huh, okay. And you mentioned something very important too. Like it doesn't matter the practitioner. It can be your OB, it could be your chiro, it could be your primary care physician. You have to pick an A team that is for your goals. And it's amazing to me how many practitioners are just demeaning women for age alone. Like my DMs are filled with ladies who are saying, my doctor told me my AMH is low or my egg quality is bad. What does that even mean? Like, you have a whole system. Your AMH is one singular hormone out of your whole system. And thank you for letting me know where that stands. That's a piece of information. And when you're older, right, your AMH will be lower. Like that's just how it goes, right? But what about the rest of your health? And if we could stop talking just about fertility hormones singularly and start addressing our overall health, then more women might be able to have babies older and their experience with their practitioners will be more enjoyable. It's like age is one thing. Gosh, do I exercise? Do I sleep? How's my cortisol? Do I have a good man in my life? Like what about all the do I smoke? Do I drink? Like, there's so many angles you can take for improving your fertility, whether you're young or old. Like, just handle us like that. We knew when we came to your office we was 40. I know I have less eggs today than when I was 20. I know that there's not as many good ones today as there were then. Like, thank you for your facts. I know that. Can we find a good one? Can we make the ones that I have left come out good? We only need one. Clearly.
Right. Right.
Change your language
It's
and approach, please, practitioners.
yes, and the approach being holistic. Like I always joke, like people hear the word holistic and they picture some woman in a burlap sack that's like slinging crystals and essential oils at every, problem in life. No, holistic literally just means whole or complete. And what you're talking about, like you go to somebody about fertility, of course there's specialists, and I'm not knocking specialists because you have to have specialists. But I would like to have those specialists take into account the fact that they are specializing in one section, whereas the whole body works together. Like you're saying, like there's so many factors that all play a part. I mean, goodness, I've met 40-year-olds that act and look like they're 80, and I've met 90-year-olds that look and act like they're 30, right? So, like,
Treat the person in front of you.
right.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do is treat the person in front of you. And yes, we do know infertility, that age can have certain consequences, but above and beyond that, what's most important is health. Is health. And so, I am so glad that we're having this conversation, um, because this motherhood journey for me at this time in my life has been beautiful. And there's some ladies that had babies younger, right? And then they meet a new man or same man, but a lot of times I'm finding, they meet, they had the first guy, boyfriend, husband, didn't work out. They get a little older, they meet the new man. She's 40 and he's looking at her like, well, I want a baby from you. And then the conversation strikes up. And it's so nice having a baby at this age. And I'm never encouraging women to intentionally wait until after 40. It's certainly not 45. I don't encourage an intentional wait that long. But I do want to showcase how beautiful it's been bringing my whole body of knowledge and life experience and patience and love and appreciation to my baby at this time. Like, there are benefits to it. Don't let people convince you that just because your back is weaker or you don't have as much energy potentially, maybe you do, that it's not worthwhile, because we know plenty of grandparents that raise babies too. So we know it's not all about the physical endurance. It's about that patience, that mental stability, the financial stability that is infinitely important and valuable to having a baby. And I'm just loving the experience, and I want women to be encouraged not to give up.
Imagine, for me, I mean, I'm in my 30s. My health is good, but as soon as I had actually, that's not true. As soon as I decided that I was going to get pregnant, my view about my body completely changed. Where I was like, my body isn't just a thing that I'm using to get around in life. It's got a bigger purpose. Its purpose is to help children come about and to survive. And that's I decided to clean up my diet. I quit drinking and smoking and everything, before I got pregnant, because I was like, I need to make this tenable for my future tenant, first of all. But even after the fact, even after they were born, I'm like, I want to be in the best possible shape because I've got two very active boys and I need to be able to carry them both. And that means that I need good upper body strength. It means I need good core strength. Like, I want to, yeah, look at that.
Guns.
Like, I want to
That
take care
boy.
of myself, but I want to take care of myself not just for me, which is a good enough reason. If you want to take care of yourself just to feel good, absolutely. But for me, it made it more three-dimensional. My health is not just my health. My health is my kids' happiness and survival and so forth. And I imagine, I mean, that's true at any age. Like, I figure you were obviously you were fairly healthy to begin with, you know. And I know that you're not the kind of person that like just indulges in toxic things, let's say. But I imagine that once you were pregnant, you were like, good, let's keep this body in shape and stay healthy, which everybody wins from that.
Yeah, it really is. You say so many good things, and because I've had this question asked of me too, like, do I feel like having a baby has aged me? Um, and that's interesting because I've thought that, and I've observed like certain women go through motherhood, and I've seen there can be a stress that comes from having a baby that can seem to speed up the aging process. I have seen that. In my case, what I do find is like what you're saying. It's an opportunity to improve your health. Now, yeah, going into pregnancy, I was riding my bike, I was at the beach. I've never been a junk food eater. I shouldn't say junk, like I do eat junk food. I'm not crunchy, like not at all. But I think I've always kept a fair balance of eating well to not well ratio, right? Like, because I like to enjoy my life. But now there's just an attitude in having a child. If you really embrace the experience and if you can be present for it, well, now you're at the park, you're on the jungle gym, you're climbing the slides, you're doing the hokey pokey, you're doing childish things if you're really invested in the process. And that to me does keep you younger. I think what makes the motherhood and probably the parenthood process more stressful is when you have to do it in a stressful way. When you have to run to a 9 to 5, when you have to put your baby in childcare when it's just 6 weeks because that's all you got. If you don't have a helpful partner in your life to carry the load, if you have other stressors, then I think that that can really take a toll, which will start to manifest physically. But if you have some stabilities in your life where you can just be present, I don't think the child itself would be responsible for your aging process. Now, that might change when she's 15. And like it's bringing me some other like complicated issues. I hope it doesn't, but I can understand. I mean, maybe I think that because I made life very complicated for my parents at 15. But as it stands for me now, like, yeah, there's just an extra added activity and desire, like mindset shift of longevity because I want to be there and useful for her. And part of my story that maybe you may have picked up on as well as I talk about my mom. I'm in what's called the sandwich generation, right? That you have an aging parent. Like I lost my father very tragically in a car accident, complications from a car accident in 2022. And then my mom moved here with me, and I started to see that she was diminishing. And so I'm watching this phenomena of how my mom is aging, and I don't want to age like that. I don't want to age how she's aging. And I think she made some poor lifestyle choices. COVID was very rough for a lot of people. And she started drinking excessively. And her medical doctor even told her, like, listen, if you just cut back your alcohol consumption, this will probably handle a lot of the mental changes that you're seeing. And she didn't do that. Instead of cutting back, she actually started drinking more. My dad, he was telling me about this and he was really worried. And so I wonder if she drank herself into like an alcohol induced dementia. I do wonder that. I'll never know for sure, but we have no other answers. There's no evidence of stroke. There's no evidence of brain damage or anything. So I say all that to say the lifestyle choices that we're making, particularly as we're getting older, really do matter. And so I am very conscious of just being here for her. And I'm curious for you. You've got two boys. How old are they?
So I have a 3-year old and a 1-year old.
Woo! So you had two under two.
Yeah.
Two boys.
Well, it was like he was 2 in a month when the second was born.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of energy.
It's a lot of energy.
It's a lot of energy. What are you doing to make it all balance and work for you?
I mean, honestly, like it's cheating, but I could say ditto to what you're saying. First is obviously you talk about mindset. Half of any battle I'm learning in life is about your mind. Like, of course, the real world has challenges. Having two very active, very determined young boys in my life is definitely a physical, it's a real challenge. But my attitude makes the day or breaks the day. If I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, this is going to be the worst, it's the worst. And that's just how it is. And I'm cranky and I'm grumpy and nobody likes it. If I wake up in the morning and, maybe one of the kids wakes up crying and the other one didn't sleep and he was nursing all night, and I say, cool, we're going to have an awesome day. We have an awesome day. And that's just how it is, and I always feel like it's a little bit, I don't know. It's a little, I don't know if cheap is the right word. It's a little perhaps unhelpful to be like, just change your mind. Just decide you're going to be happy. But I'm telling you, there's a truth to it. Like,
Why just say whatever you say is? Whatever you say
I believe that.
is.
Yeah.
That
If you're going
is.
to have a bad day, and I'm telling you, I've had days when nobody slept. Everything was supposed to go wrong. Like all of the cards were there for the day to just be the worst day ever. And we have a great day because I just decided, nope, no, this is going to be a good day and we're going to be great. Anyway, so that's that. I am a little bit crunchy. I do try to keep, like, my kids off of crazy sugary foods and whatever, again, in moderation. My children do eat ice cream. Um, um, and it's funny because you were talking about parenting aging you, and there was definitely a little moment. I'm trying to remember. I think it was after my first kid. It was like the first 6 months after I had my first. It was a little bit of a struggle for me because I was having a hard time with my body. Like, my body was not recovering the way that I thought. I thought I would bounce back after like a month. I don't know. I had no idea
You get
what.
that idea from Hollywood?
Something. Something. I don't know. Somebody somewhere planted this idea in my head that you have a baby and then a couple weeks later you can go back to work and you can just pretend nothing ever happened. I don't know what I
I call
expected.
that society.
A society. Yeah, it's like this
Just a
weird
general.
expectation.
Yeah.
And when that didn't happen, I thought something was wrong with me. I was like, oh, well, and then physically I was having a hard time. Like, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, compared to other people, my recovery was honestly great. But it took me like a good solid 6 months to just physically feel like my body was my own, which is understandable because your organs do this whole dance inside you. They all get squished up and they all have to find their way back to their normal place. And then, down there goes through some experiences, let's say.
Experience is a good
It's not necessarily pretty. I had a tear. I had to heal from that. Like, peeing was a whole thing. Anyway, and I was like, this, like, the pregnancy was beautiful. The labor was hard, but it was beautiful. The recovery was a little tough for me. And I felt that, like, aging phenomenon where I was like, oh, I'm tired. I'm this, I'm that. I'm not, like, and I just kind of, like, I guess introverted a little bit where I didn't really want to leave the house. Not like anything terribly, like, I wasn't like depressed or anything. I was just like, bleh. Like, there was like,
energy for it. Yeah.
yeah, I just had this like cloud, this like heavy cloud on me. And I think it was about 6 months later, I just decided I was going to do something about it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to like focus on getting myself back because this is silly. This is stupid. Like, I'm 30 years old. This is not normal. This is like, I've had 6 months. That was fun. We played that game. Let's move on now.
The mindset shift.
Exactly. And I started doing some things to just take care of myself. I like, so some of it was like stupid things where I'm like, just do things that make you happy.
Yeah. That's
Like,
valid. That's a valid therapy. Force myself into
100%.
happiness.
Yeah, literally. Like, I'm going to take some time to just do something I enjoy. And I did. And I would read books that I like. And I would, I started going back to my church. And I was like, okay, let's like just, like, it's okay for me to pay attention to me. Of course, all of my attention is engrossed in this, squishy little 6-month-old adorable child. But like, he needs me to be at my best game. So let's share that focus. I don't need to shift my focus off of him because that's not going to happen for the rest of my life, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was like, I need to actually take care of myself, and I decided that was okay. Which you need to like give yourself permission. Like, it's okay. You need
Well,
to
you
be
have
okay.
to, right? Because how many women do I hear talking about the trauma, you know, from their upbringing? It's really like it's a crime to not take care of yourself and let yourself become the traumatic mother because you never pulled yourself out of any funk or handled your mental unrest or your spiritual unrest. Like, it's part of your job to keep yourself in a position where you can run your household and be present as a mother. It is not okay to let yourself degrade, to become miserable, and set that example of parenting for your children because they're watching and later they will have something to say about it.
So your daughter is 2?
She's 2 now.
Yeah. So I feel like you've already probably experienced it. Even at that age, the kids are mirrors. They will, like, my son says the darndest things and I'm like, oh man, that's something I say. He says something like, I don't remember what it was, but he called something a situation and I'm like, a 3-year-old talking about the situation. And I was like, that's something I say. Like, they are paying attention. The point is, they are paying attention to everything. How you act, what you say, how you react to them, to people, how you treat yourself. Like, they're paying attention. They call 1 to 5 the formative years because they are forming their entire foundation for this life on this planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
So
it's so
you
true.
gotta
Like
pay attention.
there's so many times where I wish that I had a camera up because it's literally like whatever mommy is doing, she has to do too. Which has also been kind of like sparked me moving more in I'm never going to be crunchy, but I'm more mindful and intentional about the products that I use, learning what I've learned in this journey about, hormone disruptors and things like that. So I have all these, non-toxic or fragrance-free skincare products and things. So I'll be putting on, if I'm putting lotion on my face, she's standing there, give me. So I have to squeeze a little pump, and then she watches what I do, and then she puts it on her face, and then she puts it on her arms. And if I'm brushing my teeth, she's got her toothbrush, give me, and I have to give her some of my toothpaste. So now we brush teeth together, right? So I bought her own toothpaste, right? So she gets them just like mommy. She washes her hands after potty, just like mommy. So they are
Every moment.
every moment.
Every moment, even when you're trying to poop.
Even, I mean, she'll get the tissue for me. She gets the I'm like, okay. She's standing there waiting to flush the toilet. I'm
Yeah,
like,
no,
Mom,
privacy is out the window. It's just gone.
there is none. There is none. But that's okay. So it's our job to set as good example as possible. Like we're not perfect and there's never going to be perfection, but we need to know they're listening and they are watching. It's true.
And they understand far more than we give them credit for. Like, I give my kids a lot of credit. I know that my kids are absolute geniuses because they're my kids and that's how I feel. But even with my idea of how smart they are, I still think they're even smarter. Like, my point is, they're figuring it out. You know what I mean? Like, the other day, I was wearing something and I decided I didn't like how it looked for this party we were going to, and I decided to put on something else. And Matthew, my 3-year-old, comes up to me and goes, Mama, why did you change your dress? And I had to think about how I answered it because if you had asked me, I'd be like, well, I think it made me look fat, right? That was the real, what went on in my head. But I had to think about it because what does that tell him? Like, I have to put myself into his shoes, and what would he hear if I said that? Feel
Wow.
fat? What does that mean, right? And so I said, I liked the way this one looked more than this one. Maybe I'll wear this one another day. And he goes, okay. And that was enough. But I was like, why would I put into his head that, like, a certain piece of clothing can make you look fat? Because at 3 years old, what does it even mean? You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
right. Oh, that's so interesting.
But
That's
the way you
definitely.
talk about yourself, and for daughters, I don't have daughters, but I remember I saw this meme one time. It was like, the way you talk about yourself is the way your daughter is going to talk about herself. Like, if you're always telling yourself, oh, mama's too fat, mama's too ugly, I'm not pretty enough, I'm this, I'm that, I look tired, I look this. Well, she's going to grow up most likely with everybody telling her that she looks like her mama because let's be real, that's typically what happens, right? And so if she's like, well, I look like mama, but mama always said she was ugly or fat or this or that, like, think about what kind of mental gymnastics have to happen to get over that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just the whole like parenting process, if you're responsible about it, it will make you a better person. Kind of forces you to reset on your operating basis in many ways, and just your whole approach, your language, your viewpoints about things should improve because now you're responsible for this upbringing and they are your mirror. They are your mirror. I mean, there comes a point where they're out there in the world, and of course, there are external influences. I'm not going to say that poor parenting outcomes, are strictly the parents' fault. Like, yeah, you go out there in the world, there are some influences, but in these formative years, it's you. It's you, you
Which
know.
sounds scary, but it's also so, I don't know, it's enlightening. I've learned more about myself in the last 3 years than I have, well, like as an individual, I've learned more about who I am and where my weaknesses are and what I need to work on and where I'm really, really good. Like I'm like, I know the things that I'm good at because the kids, they teach you, man. They teach you. I think I'm teaching them, but let's be real. They're teaching me every single day.
Any relationship is a two-way street. Any relationship, even with your baby, is a two-way street. There's no such thing as one is only giving. Nope, it goes both ways. And I think that that just expounds, like, as they get older and they get more vocabulary and they get more thoughts, they just will just exchange with you, and it should be beneficial for the two of you, just like any relationship.
Exactly. I completely agree. Completely agree. If I may switch gears here, I would love to hear your birth story.
Okay. Well, my birth story might be different from some of your other followers who are younger, but I can definitely tell you about the older mom's version of how it goes, right? So,
Please, yeah.
all right. So by time I was ready for delivery, I was 47 years old. And because of this, there was a lot of conversation about, I shouldn't say a lot, but there was conversation about not wanting me to carry my baby too long, right? Not to the full 42 weeks because of my age and the concerns that, your baby could die. You could have stillbirth. Now, I just want you to understand there's a lot of angst carrying your baby, probably at any age. You want to hear your baby's heartbeat. You want to know that it's there. I don't know that that goes away if you're young or old. I'm not sure. But for me, there's added pressure about stillbirth. And also was planning to have my baby in a birthing center because I wanted to have a natural birth, no epidural. And I was like, so if I do it in a birthing center, even no matter how bad it hurts, they don't have the drugs. So I just have to push it out. But I didn't want to have a baby at home because home birth for me, I was like, I don't know, home isn't where I feel like I'd be comfortable having a baby. Like I'd be looking around like I need to clean or this is on the floor. Like I didn't feel like I'd be fully present.
So funny. Like for me, home was the option, but what you just said is a perfectly 100% valid reason not to have a home birth. Just throwing that out there. If it doesn't, like what you said, this is not where I would feel most comfortable. That's it, done. That's enough of a reason to go to where you do feel comfortable because you need to feel comfortable to give birth properly. Like that's it.
That's just the way it is. Yeah, I live in a three-story townhome, so everything is narrow and tight. It's not spacious. It's not. I don't know. I was just like, so I don't want to do that. But trust me when I say I watched a million home birth videos, while because I just wanted to watch the natural birth process. And there are places in homes where it would make sense. Mine just wasn't one of them. So birthing center was a route. Um, but anyway, the conversations about carrying my baby to term made me very nervous about stillbirth because I made it so far. And the most catastrophic thing that I could imagine happening was losing my baby at the very end. Like, I just couldn't shake those warnings. But I didn't want to go to the hospital and do the whole Pitocin induction because I had watched the documentary, the Ricky Lake documentary, The Business of Being Born, which I recommend that every woman watch, and take from it what you can. Because in the end, what I experienced didn't fully align with the video, and I'll explain why towards the end. So anyway, I started to talk about natural labor induction, right? And we started talking about that at 38 weeks because they were like, because of your age, we can scoot it up. So by the week 39, I did a membrane sweep. It's just you go in and they take your finger and they kind of just sweep your cervical membrane. I don't know, I forget the exact thing actually.
All
Just
right. Yeah.
membrane sweep. And it hurt and it wasn't too comfortable, but it got me dilated about 3 centimeters. I got some contractions a little bit, but nothing, right? So the next week, because at this point I'm at my birthing center. Midwives were doing, my ultrasounds and things weekly. I was getting the stress test, the non-invasive stress test, where they monitor your baby's heart weekly. Because I'm like, I want to know that she's there. I'm like, I'm doing all those things. And then the midwife says, we can do it. We can do it again. We can give you a second membrane sweep. And I didn't know that was an option. Now, on this day, I went to my doctor's appointment. I was tired, like I didn't sleep well the night before, and I was hungry. So my plan was to go to my appointment, come home, cook a little something, and take a nap. That was my plan, okay? So I do my stress test. I do the second membrane sweep. And then I go to CVS to buy castor oil because I'm not convinced that the membrane sweep will work because it didn't work the week before. So I'm going to drink that castor oil the next day if I'm not in labor. So I go to CVS and I buy the castor oil. And the guy at checkout was like, "Hey, do you want a receipt?" And I'm like, "No, no, it's good because I'm gonna drink it. It's not a problem." He's like, "You sure? You sure? Do you want a receipt?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I don't need the receipt." I get into the parking lot. I hop into my car. I start my car, and all of a sudden, I feel this gush of water spill out of me. Now it's hot. I live in Florida. It's June. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I got a big sweat. Like, but that doesn't seem right. But my belly, mind you, my what you call it, steering wheel is out to here because my belly is out to here. I can't see in between my legs. My mom was in the car at the time, so I'm facing her and I got my legs up. Can you see? Am I wet? I think my water broke. Am I wet? Can you see? She's like, look. She's like, yeah, there's some stains there. She's like, yeah, there's some stains there. And I'm like, I think my water broke. So I'm only a few minutes from home. So I get home and I pull myself and I'm like, oh yeah, my water broke. Like this is soaked. So now I'm calling, calling my man at work, trying, getting him there. And I'm calling my friends. Like it happened. My water broke. She's coming. She's coming. Now, when you're giving birth in a birthing center and probably at home too, but for sure in a birthing center, you have 24 hours to deliver or, the baby like on the way out. Otherwise, you have to legally transfer to a hospital, right? So at 3:30 is when my water broke. Great. So I called the birthing center, and the midwife is like, "Listen, it can take your body up to 11 hours to like go into labor after your water breaks. I don't think I have time." So yeah, I'm texting all my friends like my water broke. She's coming. It's happening. I'm like not doing anything that I should do. My man gets home. He's like, "Are you hungry? You're gonna need to eat." Yeah, yeah. I think I want some Chipotle. Give me some Chipotle. By the time I reach him at work and he drives home, it's like 4. So now he's back up the road to Chipotle. By the time he gets home at like 5:15, 5:30, I'm in full labor. Like the contractions are so intense. I try to eat this Chipotle chicken. It was just like chicken and rice. I don't even think I got anything spicy. Just some protein. I can't hold it down. I throw it up. Vomit just everywhere. So I want you to understand this. I want you to recall I said that I had not slept and I already was hungry.
Yep.
And I'm in full labor within like an hour and a half of my water breaking. So I go into labor tired and hungry. So you know how this went? Great. So finally, around I don't know midnight or so, we go. Like my contractions are like boom, boom, boom. He's timing them. I don't know. I literally don't even know what happened. It's like I blacked out, and we get to the birthing center. I just know that I wanted to go where you go deliver the baby. I didn't want to be home anymore. I was like, I want the pros. But even the drive to the birthing center was bumpy and uncomfortable. My labor slowed. My labor
Mm.
slowed. So then we decided we're just gonna just slow the labor so that I could try to sleep. And we did that, but it's still I was having contractions like every 15-20 minutes, so it was not restful.
Yeah.
The next morning we wake up, we get me some eggs, mix a little castor oil in the eggs. The labor does pick back up. It does. I'm back in heavy labor. Couldn't do it. I
Mm.
couldn't get her out. I just didn't have it. And by hour 21, I started fantasizing about epidural. I'm like, I just want an epidural. I want to sleep. Like I just knew I didn't have the energy to do it. And I looked at my belly and there was a point where there's a communication between her and I. And like, she's not playing ball. She's not. I was like, she's not going to come out this way. And I need to sleep. I need the rest. And he saw it. He was already, before I even called, before he heard me throwing a towel, he knew. And he
Mm.
was in with the midwife saying, "Get the paperwork. We're going to the hospital where I'm not losing my baby." He's looking at me and he's like, "I'm not losing my baby." And he was already handling them to do what they need to do. And I transferred to the hospital. I got the epidural and it was like, thank God. And then her heart rate started crashing.
I
And
know.
because I had been doing the weekly stress test, I knew what her heart rate looked like. I'd been watching the monitors. And I will say that my training for prepping for the birth was a Bradley method training. This is a training that's like it's a husband coach training where your husband learns how to help get you through the laboring process and you learn how to labor naturally. And God, why was I telling you that? My heart rate started crashing. Husband coached. Shoot, I forgot why I was telling you that. Hopefully it comes back. But oh, in this birthing class, the instructor was saying that when you go to the hospital, because you can naturally labor still in the hospital, it looks a little
Mhm.
different, but you can still do it, right? She was saying that the doctors might start encouraging you towards certain things, and they may ask you if you want an epidural. They may ask you for this. They may ask you if you want that. And she was like, if they're asking, you don't need to do it. She was like, it's when they start telling you that you understand
Mhm.
that there's some urgency. So I'm talking to the head nurse. The doctor's not in there, and Naomi's heart rate starts crashing, and we can see it on the monitor. And so we do certain things, right? Like it would crash and it would come back up. They'd try flipping me on the other side. We tried doing some things to stabilize her heart rate. Then there came a point where we're sitting there talking and we're watching the heart rate, and it goes boop, comes up, boop, and she flips that monitor from my face, hits a button, and about 8 ladies in blue show up like that. And I said, that's what my birthing instructor meant. They're no
Yeah.
longer asking, they're no longer entertaining my fantasies of my birth. We need to take effective action. And she's like, we need to get the doctor in. And he's like, look, I mean, ultimately it's up to you, but if you don't, okay, we need to do the C-section. You need to do a C-section to get the baby out now. And because of that reaction and that response and the speed in which the ladies in blue showed up, I understood they were no longer playing around and we had a situation. And because I've been watching my baby's heart rate and I knew what was normal, I said, well, I hate to lose her over being stubborn. Take her out.
Right. Right.
Take her out. And like that, we got her out.
Wow.
And C-section is fast. It was the craziest thing. I feel like my C-section was almost like a strange, like alien abduction because you get wheeled away really fast and they call the time. We got to the play. It was like I don't know. Now I forget the time, but it was like 4:29. They announced the time when they wheel you in. And it was like, and then they announced the time when the baby is born. It was like 4:09. So from the time of wheeling and all you stretched out like Christ with all these pumps and valves out of your arms and all these people in masks, like all you can see is faces, right? It is like 12 people in a room, and hi, I'm Dr. So and so. Hi, doctor. Hi, I'm Dr. So and so. Okay, hi. And these big bright lights shining on you. And then and I could smell, I knew when they were going in because I could smell my flesh. I could smell it burning.
So
And me,
weird.
I was fearless about it. I was like, can I watch? And they were like, ma'am, no. I was like, I want to see it. So
Whoa.
they
Not
wouldn't
me.
let they
Mm.
wouldn't let me watch how somebody snuck his cell phone out and actually they didn't know and recorded about 60 seconds of it. So I have the video of them pulling her out before they realized he had his phone. So I do have that footage.
Whoa.
But yeah, it's very interesting. So, they put the curtain up, you can't see. I could smell my flesh burning. That's how I knew they were in. And then my body started. I could feel the sensation of my body rocking. And they were going there. That's them digging, going in and moving the things out. And then I heard her cry. And that, we made it. To hear her cry, like I couldn't see her yet, but the relief because all along, you don't know if you're going to make it. And whatever happened after that, it's like we made it. I didn't know it still felt this way.
Make me cry.
But you just don't know the odds. They make you feel like you're not gonna wish she can say fucking win in the Olympics. I came in first place. Not only
Yeah.
am I here, not only was I good enough to compete, but I got the gold medal.
Oh my God.
It it was like the gold medal of childbirth to hear that. Wah! Girl, I didn't have tissue here. Oh, wait, the tissue I used to clean my camera, we'll use it. I really
Man,
didn't know I still had this emotion about it.
I feel like it never goes away. And I sit here on this camera and I talk to so many mamas and they share their birth story and it just doesn't ever get old. This moment of when you first meet your baby, there is nothing nothing like it. And everybody's got their own challenges, be it age or, a medical condition or naysayers or stress, whatever it is. Or maybe it's a perfectly boring, uneventful, ideal pregnancy and labor and nothing went wrong. It doesn't even matter because that moment when you first meet your child is just the most there aren't words. I don't know. What is it? It's magical, it's surreal, it's impossible, it's everything.
It's so many things and there aren't words. It's just a sensation that's from God. It's spiritual. And I had all these fantasies, about how it would be, that she would come out my vagina and she would be laid immediately on my chest and then she would suckle my breast. I didn't imagine that I would be looking at her from a plastic curtain. However, you meet your baby for the first time is how you meet your baby. And, from a C-section experience, I do want to kind of explain how that even goes because I had she had a bowel movement. That was the other part too, that they found when I got to the hospital, and I had on the big Depends because you're leaking fluids. It's disgusting labor. It's the most. It's just rough, right? So you're wearing a big Depends, and by the time I got to the hospital and they took it off, it had meconium in it. That was the other thing I didn't share. So that's not a good sign for the baby. She was in distress, right? That coupled with the heart rate. So they had to clean her, right? Like after they pulled her out, you don't usually want to wipe off the white layer of the baby, which I forget the name of it now. But they cleaned her off, because of that. And we weren't going to do the eye drops and all the shots, but we let them do the eye drops because, again, the meconium. We didn't want her to have an eye infection. So we conceded on that. And then they laid her on me, but I don't know what it is in the C-section process or the medications or whatever, but you're shaking violently. Like there's this violent shake, and I don't know if that happens in natural labor too, or if it's because of the medications. So I'm like trying to hold her, right? But I can't, and I'm like, well, can we? Maybe I can hold her when we get to the room. So even that process of like trying to like meet my baby and like look at her and experience her, I'm shaking so violently, like a shiver. It's a shiver, but an out of control, violent shiver where I didn't even feel stable enough to hold my baby. So it wasn't until I got kind of, unhooked and wheeled back to my room and into the bed where my body kind of calmed down that I could like actually be there fully present with her. And I wanted to just say as well that my time in the hospital was phenomenal. It went against every expectation that I had. The care of the nurse and the staff and the things that they do for you, from changing your disgusting, bleeding underwear and cleaning your vagina for you and just being all invasive in your space and you recognize you're a complete stranger. Like I barely would want to look at it myself and it's my own. And they're just there to help you. And I stayed the full. They were gonna kick me out or let me leave after day two, and I was like, no, no, let's stay the full day because you had all the meals. You could just order your room service. I wasn't worried about feeding myself and having to go anywhere. It all came to my room. They were helping with breastfeeding and helping my baby latch and helping me with the swaddling. And she was screaming in the middle of the night. They would come. You just kind of had all of this help that I didn't anticipate coming from the hospital staff. And so I just said that because I watched the business of being born, and I understood. I understood. And I think that it's a valuable education. But I feel it's important for me to also express how good of an experience I had when all was said and done. They respected my choice for a silent birth. Like, that's one of the things that I wanted. I wanted a silent birth. And when I went into the delivery area, they were used to that. It was not a thing. Hey, this will be a silent birth, silent birth. The nurse went like that, and they were all like, oh, okay. And it was only medically necessary conversation, no chit chat around my baby. They really were respectful, and they didn't treat me bad, and they gave me more care than I could have ever hoped for. And I was so appreciative of them. And I just want to say that as well. I think it's very important to acknowledge that, not to be super afraid of the hospital, and to grant them the respect, and just go in there with the mindset that they're going to care for you.
Love that. You know, and it's funny because a lot of people think, oh, you know, Polina's always pushing home births and all she thinks is right is home births. And I've watched The Business of Being Born, amazing documentary. I'm all for home birth if it's the right option for the person. And like we were talking about before, you know, you deal with the person in front of you. The medical professionals need to take care of the person in front of them. Well, I'm talking to the mama in front of me, right? Like, if it's right for you, then it's right for you. But I think one thing that I take away from your whole story is, through the whole thing, you and your guy, both of you guys were right there and involved. And it wasn't something that was happening at you or to you. Like, you were in it. You were working, and you were like, you knew your baby's heart rate. You were paying attention. You were making decisions, and you changed your mind on the fly, and that's okay. Like, that's how life is. Of anything in life, you need to be okay. Like, oh, I decided this and I need to change my mind. That's fine.
You need to be able to pivot. You really do. And there really is, I think when it comes to birthing and pregnancy, like, we have all of these ideals, and you can introvert on yourself or come down on yourself like it's something that you did wrong. And maybe you did. You know, for me, my advice to women is, when you're in those last weeks, you are to kick up your feet. You are to binge watch Netflix. You are to sleep. You are to eat. You are to do those things. Like, if there was one thing that I could fix about that, I would just, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I was planning to take a nap, right? But I was also trying to induce labor. I was at odds with myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that would be my mistake. But it doesn't mean that I come down on myself about it. You just have to just make use of the knowledge that you have. And so the knowledge that I had was, I'm tired. I am not getting this baby out. And I'm looking at my belly, and I'm like, she's stopped moving. She's in a ball. I could just tell she's in a ball, and she's
Yeah.
not coming. And he's looking at me. You're right. And he's like, this isn't happening. Wrap it up. I'm taking her to the hospital. I didn't even know that he was working on it before I even thrown in the towel. Um, but it is, at the end of the day, it's healthy mom and healthy baby. And we need to be appreciative that we have the medical technology to get a baby born from start to finish in less than 10 minutes when all is said and done. I think from start to finish, like, once they got me in that room and all the pumps were pumping, fast. It's
Yeah.
fast. And we need to be grateful, because babies can be lost without it. We know they are. We know there was mamas lost and babies lost in history's time without this technology. So it is, you know, you have options to try to do the best you can and the most ideal birth you can. But at the end of the day, healthy mom, healthy baby. That is the only thing that matters.
Tell you, it helps me because my biggest fear going in with both of my pregnancies was C-section. It's just, I was scared. I was like, that is my worst case scenario, was C-section. Again, like, society, whatever, wherever I heard this, you know, but it was a scary thing. And now hearing stories like yours, it makes it so much more real. Like, it kind of brings this whole concept kind of down to earth for me, and I hope for other mamas listening, where, okay, so let's say you're planning for a home birth or a natural birth or a hospital, whatever you're planning not to have a C-section. I feel like in that moment, if I had to face that as an option, hearing stories like this would help me because it would at least remove the irrational fear and I could deal with just the facts. Like, okay, is this actually the greatest good in this moment in time with this baby, this pregnancy, this situation? Not some like made up fantasy of C-sections being this terrible, no good, only very bad thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
watching your reaction to your baby being born with a C-section, that was therapeutic for me for because like I thought that was lost. I didn't think you had that with a C-section. Does that make sense? Like I thought that moment was somehow less than
Mm.
it would be in a natural birth. And clearly judging by the way you react, nothing at all was lost at all, like not for a second, you know?
Not
Okay, so
for
maybe you didn't get to, your arms were shaking too hard to hold your baby. Okay, you know? And you could have probably gone on a guilt trip and been like, oh, maybe I'm a bad mother, whatever. But like, nothing was wrong. You did all the right things and you have this beautiful, your daughter is beautiful. The pictures, she's just the cutest. Like, you know, there's so much love. Nothing was lost. You won. You did 100%.
I did. There's nothing lost. And I want to tell you this about the C-section process too. I skipped out on one part. When I came to the hospital, I didn't like my doctor. He was what you kind of were worried about in the business of being born. He was very condescending and like he was talking C-section as soon as I walked in the door. I was talking epidural, let me sleep, and then we can try to induce whatever. Like that's where I was coming in the door, and he was automatically, well, I think you should take the baby out because this and that, but it's on you if you don't like. But it's not it won't be our fault if you decide. And he was talking to me like that. But I have a friend, very close friend of mine, who was a labor and delivery nurse, and I called her, and I had her on speakerphone, and they didn't know. And because at first she was like, well, you can try this, you can try that. But then when she started listening to what the doctors were saying, what the nurses were saying about my numbers, she said, Chia, that's actually a good doctor. He's letting you try what you want to try. But what he's telling you is correct.
Mm.
What he's telling you is correct. He's not a bad doctor. So even though his bedside manner was rude and kind of condescending and I didn't like it, he was being honest and he was actually being fair, entertaining some of the things that I wanted to try. But when all was said and done, she was like, mm-mm, you need the C-section. So I say that to say, if you can have somebody who can help advocate for you and help you navigate the language of what's happening, even if you have a midwife and it goes, and I understand because I had a doula, but a doula as far as like spectrum of ranking, right? So you have your doula, that's one level of support, then you have a midwife, that's another level of support, and then the ultimate boss is a doctor, right? But somewhere in there, if you can have someone who can kind of help you navigate what's being told to you, that was very helpful for me. And I forgot to give that part of the story, but her reassurance that he was actually telling me the truth made me calm down as well about, okay, we need to do the C-section.
Which makes sense because my reaction would also be like, up yours with your attitude. Like,
Yeah, with the attitude. But once she started hearing the numbers, the crashes coming, right? And she started hearing what they were saying. And when he came into the room and started talking to me about it, she was like, yeah. And then and then he left. And I was like, so? And she was like, yeah, yeah, go get the baby out. Yeah.
very interesting. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing. That was, I'm sure it brought value to others, but for me, like, yeah, you did something for me. This was beautiful. We
Hmm.
are somehow already at an hour, which doesn't make any kind of sense because I feel like we could talk forever.
I know. Birth stories are that way, right? And motherhood is that way. So layered, we could just go on, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, before we end though, I do want you to tell people, where they can find you. I want people to follow you, whether they're over 40 or know somebody who is, or just like me, are just endlessly fascinated by your story. And you have a very entertaining way of conveying your story too. So
Thank you. Well, life is a journey, so we should just roll with it and laugh sometimes, right? So you, if ladies want to follow my story, you can find me across YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. My handle is pregnancy over 40, FORTY. And I'm also launching a private membership community. And I'm having to do that because even on social media, within the comments, I can't, there are trolls, there are naysayers, there are nasty things. My DMs are so full of women wanting, one-on-one direct contact with me that I have to channel it into a single place. I can't get to all of it. Like it's just, it's so beautiful, but the reach for community is there. So that is forthcoming in the next few weeks. I'm building it out, and within there, I already have a course on hormones, so ladies can really start learning the basics and the truth of what I feel they should teach us in high school, just about our bodies and our hormones. I've already got curated content from experts who are recovering the role of herbs in fertility, how to balance your hormones naturally, handling and getting rid of fibroids naturally, non-toxic product swaps. Like I have all these videos of interviews that I've done with specialists that you won't find anywhere else but within my community. I'll be going live monthly in there and live with experts, and it's just going to be a safer environment. So my pregnancy over 40 community, I don't know if I'll keep that as the name because I really want to welcome women in the 35 and up category.
Yeah.
That is the age in which the doctors start being mean category is who I would like to welcome into that community where you have a safe space. And even for mothers who have already had their babies after 40, and now we're navigating perimenopause and menopause while raising our babies, like that, there will be space and information for that as well, and camaraderie for that as well, because that's its own journey. If I hear one more naysayer saying, "Oh, it's great, it's easy now, you have the baby, but wait until she's a teenager and you're in menopause." Well, okay, well, wait until I figure out how to navigate that.
Love it. Oh man, I love this so much. So yeah, when that comes out, if you want, just let me know. I'll throw it up on all my socials, and we'll shamelessly promote it because it's so needed.
It's so needed. It's so needed. And thank you, Paulina, for having me here. And if my followers want to have a natural birth, where do you offer your services?
Yeah, so I'm on social media mostly. This podcast is on YouTube, on Rumble, on Spotify. One thing that I do, I'm also sensible mama.com. You can find everything, where I am, what I'm doing, what I'm up to. My latest project, I'm super excited about this, and I think you will be too. I'm actually writing a glossary of birth terms. Because if you're having trouble with something, chances are there's a word or five or so that you don't understand in that area. And so I've put together a glossary. Right now it's up on the website, sensiblemama.com/glossary. Soon it's going to be available as a paperback, so you can bring it with you to those appointments where the doctors are telling you you have things like, who knows the terms that they use. But they throw words at you because they have medical degrees and they speak clinical language. And when you're just a mom trying to navigate having a baby, it can be very overwhelming. And so I'm making a little book.
Brilliant.
You can bring it with you. It's written for the mom. You don't need a medical degree to read the definitions in there. But right now it's available for free for anybody who wants to. You just bring your phone to your doctor's appointment, and when they say you have so-and-so, or you might need such and such, or we're going to do procedure this, or induction that, or whatever, or even this part of your body, and you don't know what it is, sensiblemama.com/glossary. Go check it out. It's something I'm very proud of. I've been working on it really hard, and I'm very excited about it.
Wow, that's yeah. That is extremely valuable. That's a very, very cool product. So yeah, I would like that download. I could link it in my stories and then they can make their way to
Absolutely.
it. And then are you assisting with home births as well, actively?
But not in any formal capacity. I am obsessed with birth. Obviously, I have this whole thing that I'm doing. I do have a friend whose birth I'll be attending in the next couple of months, which I'm very excited about. I think maybe someday when I grow up, I might become a doula. We'll see. We'll see where this whole journey takes me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right now, my goal is just facilitating the conversations, giving mamas the knowledge, and by giving them knowledge, giving them the power to take control of their birthing outcomes, no matter what that looks like. If you're scheduling a C-section because that's what you want, I want you to go in with the knowledge and you understand the words and you understand what's happening and how it works, so you have control over the situation. If you're going for a home birth, if you want to birth a free birth without a midwife, some people do that. More
Yeah.
power to you. I want you to do it with a full understanding, the full knowledge of what you're doing, so that you can have the best possible outcome because you're in control.
That's wonderful. And it does start with the words. It really does. So well done on you for creating that. That's something that I wish that I had going to all my appointments
Same.
because we are quick to go to Google to search for it or chat GPT now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. And yeah, like you said earlier, we could probably go on and on. But
This was a pleasure. Maybe we'll pick another topic at some point and we'll have you back on to
look,
like niche down.
perimenopause and toddlering is its own. It will be its own.
Yeah.
Going through peri, managing hormones while being a toddler mom.
For anybody watching, leave a comment if there's anything specific that you'd like me to have Chia back on about. Let me know and we'll absolutely schedule that and make that happen.
Absolutely, I would love it. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
bye.